Okay. Has everybody ever heard this term? Hoorah. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. Hoorah. That's a military term. I have heard most of my life. What's up, honey? My husband's on. Hi, guys. Hi. If you're here on Instagram, let me know. If you guys are here on Facebook, let me know. It is the first Friday of the new year. What is up? Okay, we are talking about a cool topic today. So number one, I'm going to share with you some rad information that is pretty unique to my life that has allowed me to level up my life, I think, in a cool way and get me on my edge with my fitness and my health, right? Good morning, Donna. So this is going to be fun for you guys. It's really different, but it's really going to support you. I think that this is what has really supported me in my life with my fitness and staying the course and the endurance. And I owe it to my dad. So let's just talk for a second. It's my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Daddy. I love you. Number one, he's incredible. And our military men and our servicemen are true heroes. Like, they are the celebrities. They are the influencers. They are the ones that are the heroes. Who agrees, right? Give me a thumbs up and hands up if you agree with that, because seriously, I grew up with my dad in the Marine Corps for 30 years. So I didn't know how to live differently. And there were 5 things. I went through this like really thoughtfully about just, thinking back on my life with my dad, and the 5 things that it's very military and it's very regular and usual for military people to think this way, but the rest of us don't. And if you've never been in the military, you don't get that advantage. And I think it's crucial. And I think that's also part of what a lot of our youth is missing, is a lot of the things the military teaches us about life, and it translates into your fitness and your goals. And I think it's going to be really helpful for you and supportive for you when you learn these things. I really looked at the top 5 things that really impacted me with my dad in my life. Hi, Ray. That's my sister-in-law. And my brother is now in the military, and I think this holds true for him as well. So I really thought long and hard about what were the lessons that I learned in the military as a military daughter through my dad, and what he taught us and instilled in us, and how that translated into my health and my fitness, and how intense I can be, and the drive I have. So I hope this supports you, okay? So again, truly, happy birthday, Dad. I love you. And secondarily, here we go, because this is going to rock your world. This is a little insight into my life. David, thank you. I like that. I like that you said it's about positive habits, for sure. So let's get started. So I started with this live with hoorah. So hoorah is a term I heard my whole life. Woke up to it, went to bed to it, lived it every day. And a lot of people don't know what that means. And you'll hear a lot of Marines say that. Even my dad will say that to other Marines now, like even as he's a civilian, right? And hoorah is the symbol of camaraderie. Hoorah is a symbol of camaraderie. So why is that important in life, and why does that translate to your fitness? So camaraderie at a very deep level, right? Like understanding that you can't lone wolf it. Understanding that you need a spotter in life and in the gym is what I learned early on. And camaraderie is seriously the way that you are pulled forward and that you are leveled up in your life. My husband and I actually had this conversation yesterday about how you have to surround yourself with people that pull you forward, or you will stay the same. You will stay the same, and you might even go backwards. So in the military, it's taught that, on the battlefield, in the gym, in life, you're in it together. You're in it to win it together. And when you have a team around you, it's a lot easier to win. And when you're lone wolfing it, it's a lot easier to lose. And so if you're in the gym and you really are trying to level your game up, right? You're trying to take your fitness to the next level. You're trying to get stronger. You can't go and lay on a bench and try to bench more than you ever have without a spotter. You can't. You can't accomplish something you've never accomplished before without a spotter, without a mentor, without camaraderie, right? And that, when you are that attached to other people that will pull you forward, it's hard to let them down, and you get real disappointed in yourself when you do. And it levels you up to accomplish something bigger than you would have alone. And so one of my downfalls in my life that I've had to overcome is I think I can do everything by myself sometimes, right? And I have to go back to that lesson that was taught to me early on in the gym, on military bases and Marine Corps bases all over this country, to be honest, was you get to be leveled up for people around you. They get to pull you forward and take you to the next level of your life and with your fitness. So if you're looking at creating something big in your fitness this year, losing a lot of weight, setting a big, hairy, audacious goal like we've talked about. You need a mentor, you need a community, and you need camaraderie, right? The same single pointed focus goal. Everyone has the same single focus pointed goal, whether that means a growth mindset, whether that means weight loss, whether that means getting stronger in the gym, whether that means winning a battle in the battlefield, right? We all have a single pointed focus, and we get to focus our attention together with the camaraderie of oorah. My dad would like the way that I say that. I think I'm saying it right. Okay, so that's number one. You need a spotter, you need camaraderie. It's oorah. That's the term I use with my dad when it's like you need support. Oorah, like let's get it. Let's get after it. Okay, and so there's a lot of stories I could tell about my dad, and I wrote a blog about a few of them that I'm going to be posting later tonight in honor of my dad. And the stories are pretty epic. Like my dad was a very high-ranking military Marine, like the highest rank, and it was in a crazy life. It was really interesting. So okay, next one that I've learned from my dad that I think is super, super valuable for people to understand is adapt, improvise, overcome. Adapt, improvise, overcome. Let me say it again. Adapt, improvise, overcome. Why is this so important? Well, obviously it's important in life, right? Because we have to be adaptable. We have to learn to improvise when things don't go correctly. Not only if you're in the middle of a battlefield and you've got, to make a different choice, you've got to improvise. The same way with your fitness or your health. Something's not working, you get to adapt, shift, and change, right? So that it does work, so that you can overcome the goal. And sometimes when you start a goal or you start on a process or you start anything in life, like life happens. Stuff gets thrown at you, right? Things happen that you aren't expecting. The phone call rings, you have to go into work late or earlier than you're expecting. You're gonna miss your workout in the morning, your kids get sick. All these things happen in life. You have to be adaptable, improvise, and still overcome it, the objective, right? So that takes a lot of adaptability and creativity. And so what I've learned, and this is what I've learned with my dad too, is like, even in the gym, like if you're at the gym and you realize that you don't have the energy that you had the day before because maybe you didn't get enough sleep, you still go to the gym, you adapt, you improvise with your workout, and you overcome by actually showing up no matter what. I learned that from my dad too. So that's this thing where, you keep getting up over and over again. You never get to like lay down, right? You get to keep getting up. And so the way that you do that is you just have to get adaptable. And I learned that a lot because we is this landing with you guys? I hope this is landing with you guys because this is cool stuff. Because one of the things that happens when you're a military brat, which I don't think I was, I think that military brat is really a terrible term because as a military child, you learn really easily how to be socially adaptable, how to fit in with different crowds, how to learn different cultures, how to communicate effectively, how to be a chameleon, how to stand out in a crowd. Like you learn these things because you don't ever stay in the same place. Like we moved all the time. And I was around high-powered, driven, tough as nails men most of my life. And I had to adapt to that, but I also had to go to school with like little kids that didn't have that same background, right? Or even in different cultures, right? So that adaptability transfers over from your life and into the gym and your fitness. So things aren't going the right way, or if you're starting this running program and the running program is hurting your knees, like it would mine, you get to adapt, you get on the bike, but you still get to overcome the goal and the objective. Make sense? Just like with Marines on a battlefield, if they have an objective to win this battle and they have a plan intact, but something happens and they have to adapt and change, they still get to adapt and change and overcome it, right? That's what I learned from my dad. So that's number two. So the first one is oorah, right? It's camaraderie, oorah. Second one is improvise, adapt, overcome. Learned it from my dad, very military. The third is, I don't know if you guys are going to like this very much, but it's the way that I was raised and what my dad would say to me. And it's basically like, suck it up, but it's sitfu, S-I-T-F-U. It's suck it up. And usually mine would be suck it the fuck up, buttercup. It's usually what would come out in my life. And a lot of people would say, gosh, that's a really harsh way to be raised. I actually disagree. I really disagree. Like, I was told to suck it up. And I was told to suck it up in life, and I was told to suck it up in the gym. And that served me because life is not always exactly the way we want it. It's not rainbows and butterflies, and you get to overcome and still stand up. Even if you're knocked down, you get to still stand up, and that's sucking it up, right? That's taking a deep breath and understanding that that was just a moment, and you get to do it anyway. And so I think that lesson really served me in the gym because the gym's hard. Like when you're trying to get to your next level, it can be hard. And in the gym, when I was in the gym, I was on my first squat rack at Camp Pendleton, Marine Corps Depot. And actually, no, that was actually my first squat rack was actually MCRD. So it's Marine Corps Depot in San Diego. And I was on my first squat rack there. And I think I was just turning 12. It was winter. I remember it clearly. And my dad, it was the first time I ever got on a squat rack. And it was hard. And I didn't understand the form. And I kept complaining. And all the guys would always tell me, just suck it up. Suck it up, buttercup. And it was you get to practice. You get to practice so you can get better. And the more that I practiced through the hard, the more I learned the form of how to squat properly, the more I understood that it gave me confidence to conquer that when I sucked it up instead of complained about it, stopped, and told myself a story that I couldn't do it. I wasn't allowed to do that, right? I wasn't given that option in my life. My option in my life was not to ever quit. The option was to suck it up and move forward and complete the task. And I think if you're setting your goals for yourself this year for your health and your wellness, if you can learn to suck it up and understand that it's going to be hard, but the payoff is much less hard than what you would have to have on the other end of it. So for example, squatting in the gym is hard. Getting your fitness program sometimes together is hard. But what's harder? Living your life sedentary, unable to move, in pain, unhealthy, cutting your life short because you weren't able to do the thing in front of you right now because you decided that that was too hard. But what's harder, right? Being overweight, being unhealthy, that's much more hard. Being in pain, right? My friend Greg's on, he can attest to that. So you get to do the hard things so that you get to have the life that you want. So that suck it up buttercup is something that I tend to have in my mind a lot, like when things get hard with me. And for me, my big audacious goal this year is to ride and race 192-mile gravel bike race to the Sawtooth Mountains, which is going to be hard, And in those moments where I want to quit, where I doubt myself, I know my confidence grows and my ability and my capacity for not only life, but for my fitness and my health grows in the moments where I say, suck it the F up, buttercup. It's true. It's all grown there. And I was raised with a lot of tough as nails men that were crazy Marines, hardcore Marines, and they used that language with me even at a young age. And it hardened me, right? It hardened me in a good way, right? Where I didn't give myself an out, right? I didn't give myself an out. Sometimes I have to get reminded of that, and I have to call my dad, right? And he's good at telling me, suck it up. You get to do it anyway. You're privileged, and you get to have the body that you have a body that's capable. You get to go do it, right? Like for example, if I told my dad I'm going to ride 100, like seriously, this is what he would say to me. I remember the first time I told him I was going to run a marathon. I was like, Dad, I'm really excited. I'm going to run a marathon. He's like, oh, that's great. Now run 2. Which is great because that keeps pulling me forward, right? He's like, I know you can run 2. If you can run 1, you can run 2. If you can run 2, you can run 4. If you can run 4, you can run 8. And that confidence builds upon itself. It's exponential, you guys. So when that hardened mentality comes over, it's like, no, that builds that resilience. It builds the grit, which is my next one. It builds the self-confidence that you can keep going. It's what I talked about the other day about dopamine receptors. When you gain the confidence that you can do something, your dopamine receptors actually grow. Is this landing with you guys? Are you getting this? When you fail at something, they fall off like hair falling out. So every time you can accomplish something and finish it and suck it up, your dopamine receptors increase, which means your feel-good hormones increase, which means your motivation increases, which means you can go the distance. Is that landing with you? So you guys, suck it up. Do it anyway. Do it anyway, because you can. And once you suck it up and you do it anyway, I'm telling you, it will exponentially explode what you think you're capable of in life. It's powerful military term. Sitfu. Suck it the F up. And mine was usually buttercup. Okay, so leads me to grit. God, my dad was the grittiest man. He still is the grittiest man I've ever met. Just pure grit, just born with it, right? He went into the military before he was 18 years old, and he was a sniper before he was 18 years old. And if you can imagine what that's like, that's grit, right? That is grit. That is a tough as nails man. And he spent 30 years of his life dedicating himself to our country. And he was in special ops for most of that. So if you can imagine my life, it was very different. And the lessons I learned from my dad are powerful. It makes me tear up because he had so much grit, he had so much courage, he had so much tenacity. And he taught me that in order to really to level up your life, you have to have enough grit. You have to have enough grit and courage to take chances. And the only way to take chances is to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to fail in order to be willing to grow. And he had so much grit. He was willing to take chances and be courageous enough to step into things that he didn't understand or know, which he did all the time in the military, right? That's what our military men do. They have so much grit because they step into the unknown, the ultimate unknown, every time they get dropped from a plane or dropped out of a helicopter in the middle of the night into God knows where. That's grit. And if you're thinking about your life and you're thinking about how to level up your life and to really understand what grit is, it's about being courageous and taking chances. Take a chance. If you're afraid of the gym, develop grit. Be courageous anyway. You don't know what's on the other side until you try. And if you fail, awesome. Awesome. That means you're taking chances. You're being courageous. If you want to run a marathon and you don't know how, you guys, take a chance. Be courageous. It builds grit. And grit is the cornerstone of character. Because if you're not failing, you're not leveling up your life. You're not changing. You're not growing. You've got to go there. You've got to. Okay, so I love this thing. So we've got oorah. We've got improvise, adapt, overcome. SITFU, my acronym that has a foul language in it. I'm glad it's landing for you, Lori. Please let me know. Now we've got grit. Man, my dad's gritty. Okay, next thing. This is really, I'm gonna tie this in. So don't go anywhere. Listen to what I'm saying. Now, I will have to admit, at this point in my life, I am not as good about this as I used to be. But I did learn it early on. And we call it in the military called field day. If you've ever been in the military, you know what I'm talking about. I'm laughing because it's funny. Field day is about learning personal responsibility. So from a very early age, as a young girl, I learned personal responsibility through field day. So field day is not what you think. It's not about like, you're going out and playing a bunch of games on the lawn. That's not what we were doing. So field day in our house was about organization and cleanliness and personal responsibility for our things. So how does this translate into life? I'll just hang with me. I'm gonna tie it back around for you and I'll land it for you. So field day. I remember as a child, no one told me that I had to do things a certain way. No one told me it had to be done a certain way. It was done by example. So my dad was very particular in how clean and tidy our house was and organized. And organization breeds results long term. So when you're organized, you can definitely get a lot more things done. If you're disorganized and your house is scattered or your things are scattered or you're not taking care of your things, then you can't find them, it wastes time, right? And it doesn't show discipline. So discipline of keeping things tidy and neat and organized also translated into my life, right? And learning from an early age, it was my personal responsibility to take care of my things and to keep my room tidy and to keep my house clean and to have personal responsibility and pride in my things and in myself, the way that I kept myself through not only my health, my fitness, but the way that I appeared, the way that I held myself. This was my personal responsibility. And it was taught to me through field day, where my room was tidy, even as a little kid. My bed was tidy as a little kid. I was organized as a little kid. And that led me to understanding and give me pride in my things. Gave me pride in my things. And I was so organized, right? Even when I was little, I was so organized that I had a plan, right? I would plan out my workouts. I would plan out my day. I would plan out my homework schedule. And it led to self-discipline and self-responsibility, personal responsibility. And I think this is what is lacking with the way that we raise our kids now. Right? I don't helicopter parent my daughter. I never have. But I will tell you right now at 13 years old, I've never had to tell her to clean her room. Personal responsibility I taught her. Never have to tell her to clean up after herself. She does it on her own. It's personal responsibility. She takes pride in it. This is what's taught through field day, right? I don't have to tell her those things. People ask me, how did you get your daughter to do that? I showed her by example and that she gets to have pride and take personal responsibility for things because nothing's going to get done for her. I'm not going to helicopter parent her. She gets to do it herself. And then she gets to have self-confidence in the fact that she can do it herself. And at 13 years old, I have to say she's pretty self-sufficient. If she could drive, I wouldn't have a job anymore. So I think that that's part of it. We're raising a society and a generation of kids that are very entitled and that think that they don't have to have personal responsibility for anything. And in our house and in the way that I was raised, there's personal responsibility for every ounce of your life, every ounce. And people like to pass the buck. People like to pass the buck. People like to ask for the quick fix for their fitness. They want the quick fix for the nutrition. They want to microwave everything and they want to blame. I couldn't get to the gym because I had to go into work. I couldn't make healthy food because I was too busy. I had to go to soccer with my kids. I couldn't do this because of this. Everything is placing blame. But when you start to say, I am personally responsible for everything around me and myself, that's when your life will change. Otherwise, you'll be stuck in excuses forever and nothing will ever shift. Nothing. Hear me out. I promise you that. It starts with personal responsibility 100% of the time for 100% of everything. When you guys will have that land with you is when things will shift in your health and in your relationships and in your life. Your weight loss will come off. You will stop blaming and pointing fingers and take responsibility. Okay, I'm already at 20 minutes. I try not to go over that. Sorry. This is just a really important topic. I love talking about this stuff. So I'm going to go over it with you guys one more time. Oorah, camaraderie. Improvise, adapt, overcome. Sitfu, suck it the F up. Mine was ended with buttercup. Grit, bravery, courage, taking chances, being willing to fail, right, will pull you forward, propel you forward. Field day, organization and personal responsibility for you and your life. That's what it's about, you guys. That's what I learned from my dad. Those are the takeaways that when I was really thinking about this and reflecting on my life and what he taught me in and out of the gym. And all of those things went into the gym too, right? Like all of them. And when I tell a story about, in my email this morning, I told a story about how when I was, this is a great example of my dad's power. And when he levels people up by pulling them forward and making them responsible. So in my email, I wanted to tell the story. I remember I was 16 years old and I lived on a military base with my dad, and my dad ran the entire base. He was the head of the entire base. So get that first. Okay. And there's things called WTI in the military. If you've been in the military, you know what that is. But they bring in Marines from other parts of the country and they do specific training on weapons at that particular base that they specialize in. So there was a WTI group in from Camp Lejeune. They were young. They were 18 or 19 years old. And they were already through boot camp, so they knew the rules. They got it, right? And they were in barracks. And we had just come back from the river. We were in Arizona in a particular military base down there. And we just got back from the river, me and my brother and my dad. And my brother and I were walking ahead of my dad, and I was 16. And my dad was walking behind me in civilian clothes. And as I was walking by, these Marines decided to disrespect me in a very vulgar way as they were hanging their heads out of the barracks. And we were actually going to Burger King. I didn't eat very healthy when I was 16. And I was walking to Burger King, and on the other side of the street were the barracks. And as I was walking to Burger King, these Marines, these 100 Marines or so from Camp Lejeune, don't mean to call you out, but it's true, guys, you did it. They were massively disrespectful to me in a very crude way. And I was only 16. So I was humiliated. My brother was humiliated. He was younger than me at the time. He was about 13. And they wouldn't stop. Marines don't behave that way. That's not how they're trained. That's not how they take personal responsibility. So my dad immediately said, he pointed at me and he said, get into the restaurant. So of course I listened. I listened to my dad. My brother and I went to the restaurant. By this time, a lot of the Marines around the base had seen this happening or heard it's happening and saw my dad's level go up, his anger go up. So people in Burger King were watching out the window. I was horrified. I was embarrassed and I was upset. And my dad pulled all of the Marines out of the barracks. Middle of the day in the hot Arizona sun. And he laid them face down on the pavement. All of them. My dad proceeded to walk on top of them and explain to them how their choices of not being respectful and not living to the standards of what the Marine Corps stands for, and that they haven't taken personal responsibility for their way of being, resulted in them insulting his 16-year-old daughter, was a pretty powerful lesson for those 100 Marines in that moment. But he held them accountable. He held them accountable for their actions. He didn't give them a way out. He didn't allow them a hall pass, right? He didn't let them have a get out of jail free card. In fact, he sent them all home on a plane, cargo plane, that night, back to Camp Lejeune with their tail between their legs after he called their commanding officer. True story. And those 100 Marines all sent me thank you cards, or not thank you, apology notes. So their commanding officer. 3 days later, their commanding officer was at my doorstep on the base from Camp Lejeune, apologizing to me and my dad. Personal responsibility. Personal responsibility. Owning your mistakes, learning from them, and moving on. And my dad held them to that, and he always held me to that. And he held me higher, always held me higher than what I thought I was capable of. And that's what I do for my clients and my community. I hold you higher than what you think you're capable of because I can see above that. I can see what your greatness is, right? And that's what URA is. That's camaraderie. That's pulling each other forward. That's what my dad did for me, and that's what people need in order to take their level of fitness, health, whatever it is in their life up. You need someone to hold you personally accountable and not let you off the hook. And that's what I do. And that's what my dad did for me. And I'm eternally grateful for that because I got to be leveled up constantly. And I got to be shown that other people around me, I got to hold accountable, right? Everybody gets to be held accountable, personal responsibility. So there's a story I promised to tell you. There's so many more, so many more. I mean, believe me, I could write a book on that alone. Maybe I will one day, who knows? But what I do want to share with you is that I'm writing a blog today in honor of my dad that goes into detail about some more stories and those 5 lessons that I learned being a military brat. Which I don't think that my brother or I were. So anyway, if you want to read that blog, I'm going to post it tonight. Excuse me, I'm going to get teary-eyed talking about that. But I'm going to post it tonight in honor of my dad's birthday, and I hope you read it, and I hope it lands with you, and I hope you share it, because I think there are lessons that our society and our culture right now are missing. We're lacking. And I think if we could implement them into our day-to-day life and how we raise our children and how we expect other people to show up for us and how we show up for other people, it'll change everything. So there it is. Almost 30 minutes today. Sorry about that, guys, but I think this is an important live. Let me know if this landed with you. Please let me know. Share this with people. Share this with people that might need to know about it. It's not just about fitness and health, right? This applies to everything. So if you found this powerful, the way that I know I'm landing with you guys and that the work that I'm doing here in this community for you for free works and it's helping you, it's pulling you forward, is that you share it, right? So tag someone, invite someone, please, and let me know this landed. I love this topic. So let me know if this is stuff you want to hear about more. I'm happy to share more stories about, how those different lessons in life help to me and how they can help you. I think when we share our stories and our personal experiences, it can definitely land with people differently than just kind of speaking on a soapbox. All right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful Friday. And remember, man, hoorah, camaraderie, pull each other forward. Okay, bye, guys. Happy birthday, Dad. I love you. Thank you.